for some analysis, we're now joined by Channel Africa Producer and Africa Analyst, Izak Khomo. Izak, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so no state funeral, and the state president was absent at the laying to rest of a former head of state. Does that tell us what we need to know?
Yeah, well, there's a lot you can read from that. There's a lot you can read from that maybe whatever it is people may interpret it. But one thing people should understand that Putin is the president of the Russian Federal Republic. Yeltsin was the president of the Russian Republic, Federal Republic. Gorbachev was the leader of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union has disintegrated. Now, he was not a state leader of the Russian Republic. He was never. So basically, you cannot compare him to Lenin, Yeltsin, or even the others being given the state funeral, because those were Soviet leaders, the Soviet Union. But he was the leader of the Soviet Union, never a leader of the Russian Republic.
All right, so why is it some people look at him as a hero and others look at him as a traitor? How can the same story be seen so differently?
Well, it depends upon what perspective that you are coming from. It depends upon the perspective. I mean, the first perspective that people would look at is that he being a catalyst to the destruction or to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. No, that is a very big thing. Now, was that a positive thing or was that a negative thing? It's not up to me to decide. And the other thing was this, that basically whatever he did, that change that he did actually was detriment to the new state which came about, the Russian federal state. Yeah, that it actually went downhill. It lost its economic, social, and many other structures. The thing which actually led to the present situation. The Chinese, they changed their political inclination from a centrally planned into a much more market-driven economy. Yet the country is stable. Now with that as a yardstick, you find that Gorbachev, as a ruler or as a statesman, he had a lot of shortcomings. As a statesman, you should anticipate these things here and results which actually can follow your actions. All actions are not just taken. You actually looked at the results and the stability of the nation, of the people, of the society before you take these decisions. And that's where he really failed.
When we see the modern map, a lot of these countries that were part of the Soviet Union are now independent states with their own cultures, with their own flags. I wonder then if at the time that he was doing the perestroika and the glasnost, that he couldn't see an inevitability, that perhaps the Soviet Union was not sustainable given all of these differences of people within the Soviet Union itself, and that he tried to get ahead of something that was going to happen anyway.
No, that's the thing that you're supposed to have looked at. I mean, you do not take, as a state leader or a leader of a government, you just do not take decisions which are taken from you don't think with the heart, which are taken from a sentimental point of view, or from being pressurized by somebody from an outside source, or trying to impress somebody who's not part of the nation. That normally happens. People try to impress maybe Reagan or somebody else. Yeah, he should have anticipated that. But again, the thing is this, that Gorbachev did not destroy the Soviet Union. The way that the Soviet Union actually disintegrated was when he actually formed, or when he devolved power, and he formed the separate, all the Soviets, the different Soviets. These were independent, something like the USA. The USA, it's a union of states. Now you find that with the just like the USA. The USA is the United States of America. The Soviet Union was exactly like that. It was made up of states. And when Gorbachev formed his independent states, gave power to the independent states, 3 states stood out, which was the Russian state under Yeltsin, and then there was Ukraine and Belarus. These 3 presidents connived and decided to break away and become independent, and that destroyed the Soviet Union. But you remember that the Americans fought a very bitter civil war in the 1860s. That civil war is termed as a war against slavery. No, it was not. The 1860s Civil War of the American, it was fought over just one issue, the right of states within the Union to break away. Now, in the USA, no state can break away from the USA once they've joined. And the minute they try to do so, they will be fought, as the Confederates were fought. The issue saying that that war was fought over slavery is not true. 8 of the states which were within the Union were slave-owning states. Now, that's how politics works. But it appears that Gorbachev did not have that foresight. He was a very weak leader intellectually, although he's been praised by some people.
So he's been credited with ending the Cold War, so Western nations possibly will look at him as a hero. But there is also a school of thought that suggests that some African countries benefited from the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War.
Which African countries?
Well, the arguments are that with the demise of the Cold War, this Russia versus America, that some of the African states could have benefited from there. We're not talking about countries like Angola, maybe.
No, I mean to say that, you are mixing many things. And those are very wrong narratives and a very dangerous discourse. Let's talk about Africa and the Soviet Union. Basically, at the time of the Cold War, the war became hot in Africa. And in Africa, it was represented by just one thing, basically. It was represented as a hot war by anti-colonial, anti-settler colonial wars. That was against Portuguese settler colonialism, against South Africa, in South Africa itself, and Namibia, and in Rhodesia. Yeah. So that is where the Soviet Union had to help the Africans a lot. And the Africans benefited from that. But then other African states which tried to actually have an independent existence, under the non-aligned movement, and who were very radical in their own development, people like the state of Ghana under Nkrumah, or Sékou Touré, of Guinea under Sékou Touré, and Mali under Modibo Keïta, and others. These were sabotaged by the West. Yeah, so basically, you've got to understand that these were basically sabotage. But then let's come to the end of that Cold War. Let's come to Glasnost and the end of the Cold War and the wars of liberation in Africa. And let's take the Undersecretary of State of the Americans, Undersecretary of State for Africa, the Professor Chester Crocker, who apparently his wife was a Rhodesian lady. Now, the journalists at that time, they actually asked Chester Crocker after signing the Namibian talks that now that Glasnost had come in and the Cold War had come to an end, People were years expecting Africa to live in peace, that the Cold War is gone. Chester Crocker just turned around and says that Africa will never be in peace. Because although the issues of the Cold War are gone, but there are other issues like tribalism and other things like that. Yeah. These are going to become major things. And that's exactly what happened. Now you find that after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, African wars became even more terrible. They're black upon black. And you find that again, the Western countries are involved in this.
Some people say that apartheid became more on the map after the collapse of the Cold War because there was no longer this fear of communism.
I don't think so. It is not because of the fear of communism. No? We are looking at South Africa, but let's look at the rest of Africa. Look at the war in the Congo, which cost 6 million lives. Huh? And you find that there's an American company, American natural resource companies which are involved in those things. Look at all these wars which took place. Look at UNITA.
All right.
Those wars were even worse than our wars in apartheid.
Okay, we're running out of time.
How can these people say?
Yeah, we're running out of time. Perhaps a final thought then of how you see Gorbachev's legacy then, all things considered.
No, I'll be a technocrat, I'll just take what the Chinese said. The Chinese, when they were asked about Gorbachev, he says he just made one mistake. He did not understand the law of stability, of systems. He said Gorbachev tried to change many things at the same time. He said you cannot, in any system where there's stability, you've got independence or freedom. Freedom of independence, your structures, which you can actually change. In the Soviet and the Chinese type, you can only change one thing at one time. You cannot change 2 or 3 things. The Chinese changed the economic system, but they never changed the governing system. They had to give it time. Gorbachev tried to change the governance system and the economic system, and the thing became unstable.
All right, so you
this is the phase rule. It's a law. It's a law which is known by all social scientists and all natural scientists.
All right, so in the end, he gets a fail grade.
Yeah, he's a fail grade, and because he doesn't understand what governance is. Those are systems, and those systems have got dimensions.
Izak Khomo, always great talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for your insights. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Thank you. All right, so there you have it. Mikhail Gorbachev has a mixed legacy. Some people considered him a hero, others considered him a traitor. And we've just had a discussion with Izak Khomo, who says that perhaps he didn't quite understand how to change systems, perhaps a bit naive in trying to do so much so quickly, instead of learning maybe from other countries like China.